Hello indie game fans! The Legend of Zelda is one of the most influential gaming series of all time, with arguably A Link to the Past being the one example that everyone points to, but it did spawn a ridiculously named genre in action-adventure, which makes no sense. However, these sorts of games are fantastic, so here are the top 20 indie games that look to capture some of that same magic. Special mention, of course, goes to the upcoming Zelda Like a Fox, TUNIC, which I'm absolutely infatuated with due to the cute character, low poly art, soft lighting and overall vibe, but our list shall start with OCEANHORN, Monster of Uncharted Seas. Alright, the inspiration behind this title is quite obvious, both referencing A Link to the Past and Wind Waker, but for what it is quite a competent action-adventure title. Search for your missing father, with the only clues being a letter, his old notebook and a necklace, and come face to face with the titular sea monster OCEANHORN. Combat, puzzles and dungeons are what you would expect, which are done quite well, but this one doesn't stray too far from the formula. Do note that there is a sequel currently on Apple Arcade only, but that looks to be more inspired by Breath of the Wild, so it doesn't quite make this list. One of the titles that I enjoyed last year is Kamiko, from a Japanese developer, where you play as shrine maidens, opening portals between worlds, battling demons and saving the world. Of course I love it due to the pixel art, which is fantastic, but the 3 playable characters do provide some variety. Not so much on the progression and RPG front, since you don't really get upgrades, but fun action, cool enemy designs and a neat, smaller game. This one is perhaps not so Zelda-like, but Moon Hunters self-describes as a co-op personality test with their classic action-adventure gameplay and perspective, coupled with visual novel elements. When the moon fails to rise over the world and monsters begin to infest the land, it is up to the children of the moon to hunt it down before the sun cult declares war. Other than the beautiful pixel art, which I love, this game encourages multiple playthroughs with different characters, where every action and choice contributes to your legend as a constellation in the night sky. Wonderful world chock full of myth and legends, this one is great solo and even better with a friend. One of the more interesting series to come around is the EVOLAND games, with their focus on exploring the history and evolution of action-adventure and RPG titles. Again, not a pure Zelda-like, but this is wholly worth checking out since it is nice to know your roots, so to speak, in terms of gaming. I love seeing the art style and mechanics through the ages, from the very old school, original Zelda-inspired look to 8-bit, 16-bit, and even PSX early Final Fantasy style, with matching mechanics and secrets as well. The sequel is also worth a play since it is a time-traveling RPG that spans many multiple generations of games, so a very neat pair of games that are a must-play in my opinion. The ANODYNE series is a great one since this Zelda Light experience looks to pay tribute to that series while inserting elements of its own. On the surface, the first game does very much look like it belongs on the Game Boy Advance, but there is an unsettling, creepy feel to the title where something is just a little bit off, and uncovering that is one of the main draws of the game. This is set in the subconscious of our protagonist, and as such, there are weird and bizarre characters to interact with. Quite classic in the dungeons and puzzle solving, where you need to find keys and cards to progress, but certainly well worth a play. However, the sequel does use the low-poly PSX era graphics in conjunction with the same classic Game Boy look, so not exactly a pure action-adventure title in that sense, so I would start with the first and see if you like this series. One title that some of you may have missed is World to the West, the standalone follow-up to another indie game in Teslagrad. This has you controlling and switching between 4 characters, each with their own abilities and personalities, as they seek to escape the dark shadow of an ancient prophecy. Not that similar to Zelda due to the multiple characters, but certainly one to experience due to the art, world design and narrative thread. In a similar vein to Kamiko mentioned above, 19 Plus is more on the Zelda Light, arcadey feel of such an action-adventure title, where, of course, there are multiple dungeons to explore, enemies to fight, puzzles to solve and new loot and abilities. Me being me, I love the pixel art in this, especially the main characters and particle effects. Impressive work from a solo developer and well worth checking out. Hey guys, if you can, do support me on Patreon since I'm currently trying to upgrade my microphone and to reinvest in the channel. You do also get access to a members only Discord channel, so thank you all for the support. One of the more recent entries on this list is LENNA'S INCEPTION, a game which flips genre conventions on its head. The legendary hero is dead, and you, as his trainer, must take up arms, defeat the 8 archangels, and restore order to the kingdom. You have the ability to switch between the 8 and 16-bit art styles, but the game world itself is glitching, so expect some sort of meta layer to this. Companions, co-op support, and multiple endings makes you want to play through this game multiple times, but the core game itself is great and certainly worth a play. Little bit of a twist on that traditional formula, since you play as a wizard in Stories of Bethlehem Full Moon. In addition to the eye-catching pixel art, this is quite a classically designed action-adventure title where our main character was cursed by the Blue Witch one day and has to find the Red Witch to break the spell. Rather than swinging a sword, you have new magical spells to play with, some of which unlock new areas, as well as monster auras to collect, new costumes which grant new powers, and that familiar dungeon-based combat and puzzling. Despite the low price, it has over 20 hours of content, so very wallet-friendly, and a recommended title from me. One thing which I love about indie games is when developers put a little bit of their own culture and experiences into it, with Reverie being one such title. Set on a fictional island in New Zealand, venture through dangerous dungeons to appease the restless spirits of Toromi Island in this action-adventure title. Of course, with the art, it is quite clearly inspired by A Link to the Past and Earthbound, with a classic dungeon setup, of which there are 6 here. The story and setting are also inspired by a Maori legend where a demigod fishes up the North Island of New Zealand with a powerful fish hook, making this really quite the well-rounded package. The original ITTLE was a fun, hand-drawn action-adventure title where our main character and her flying fox sidekick crash land on a mysterious island where loot is abound, resulting in what may just be their biggest adventure yet. I really liked this game back in the day, with a couple of clever puzzles being one of the highlights that I remembered. It is also possible to sequence break and complete the game without having to obtain all the magic wands, but a very well made one of these, so much so that the sequel, ITTLE 2 Plus, was released 3 years later. While the story again sees our dynamic duo finding themselves on another island, the standout difference has to be the art style, which is now in 3D. However, it still has that classic action-adventure camera with more biomes, some familiar returning enemies, but a more polished and modernized title for sure. One hidden gem in the genre is Songbringer, a non-roguelite action-adventure title that uses procedural generation to create quite a unique experience. Landing on a planet and finding a mysterious humming sword within a cave, our protagonist unknowingly awakens an ancient evil, and it is up to him to save the day. Visually, on top of the beautiful pixel art, the lighting effects are of note as well. There are upgrades, a deadly spinning top hat, and a robot companion at your side, with plenty of secrets and even the ability to go on a vision quest by ingesting hallucinogenic cacti. Super cool and full of secrets, the joy of discovery is one of the main hooks in this game. A nice surprise in 2017, which seemed to have really taken off with the Switch launch, is Blossom Tales: The Sleeping King, which, one look at the trailer, instantly identifies its inspiration. Narrative setup is interesting here, since you play as a character in a story being told by a grandfather to his grandchildren, so the narrator's perspective affects the messages on screen, if for example you lost all your health. Other than that, very similar to A Link to the Past, since there are 5 dungeons, various items, and that familiar blend of action and puzzles. Perhaps a little bit shameless in how similar it is, but with Nintendo focusing on 3D Zeldas, this fits nicely into that gap. One of the best games to remind me of Zelda is Hyper Light Drifter, featuring a story told without words, fantastic pixel art, and great combat. Explore this ruined world as you seek a cure for your illness with Dark Souls-like lore and world building. There is an immense amount of depth and subtlety that you can pick up from the environmental clues, but this has led to some mixed reception since it is easy to lose the story beat and get confused as to what you need to do next. But if you do enjoy the more obscure form of storytelling, this will be of interest. Putting that aside, combat is fantastic, with a variety of enemies ranging from ninja frogs to robots, with a mastery of dodging and attacking being essential here. It is on the more challenging side of things, but don't give up, since it really is quite a special game. Minutes is a 1-bit black and white pixel art Zelda-like, where the gimmick is that your character only has 1 minute to live at a time. It is a case of curiosity that killed the cat, since your character picks up a cursed sword, so you have to adventure to lift said curse. As such, the design of this game is pretty tight, since you can get to checkpoints and accomplish things within those 1-minute stretches. But then comes along frustratingly clever things like a turtle NPC that speaks very slowly. Excellently designed, with a number of weird and interesting areas to explore, taking the #1 spot. As bonus, a special shoutout goes to the upcoming DAWNTHORN, the 8-bit sister game to the upcoming Hazelnut Bastille. This game absolutely nails the look and feel of a Zelda game, so it's great to see that even more games in the future will be taking inspiration from this classic series. If you enjoyed the video, why not share it with a friend? Check out even more great indie gaming videos, and in this current climate, stay safe and I will see you after the jump.